Hello everyone! Today our special guest on the show is Matthew Ninaber. He is an actor, writer, and director, and he's here today to talk about making his films, behind-the-scenes stories, and what it takes to bring movies to life. Enjoy. Perhaps we can start with the most recent A Knight's work, because you have The Chosen One, and what inspired you to take that on? Because it had this fun quality, this world-building quality to that film.
Man, A Knight's War. This movie for me, I think everyone, at least I do. I dreamt of making a movie with swords and knights and big battles, and A Knight's War was my chance to kind of jump into that genre. What inspired me? There's so many great movies that inspired me, like watching Lord of the Rings, King Arthur, First Knight, all these fantastic films, and I just wanted to jump in and do something like Conan the Barbarian, and so those were kind of some of my inspiration points. It's pretty crazy to go make a dark fantasy. A lot of people would stay away from it because it just eats up budget, but I was just so excited at the opportunity to go make something that I just couldn't resist it. I don't think I answered your question in any way, but yeah, just going back, I'm like, I just wanted an excuse to swing a sword and make costumes. And I just remember before even having a script, I was like looking up how to make armor and just playing around with things. And like my family just thought I was crazy because I was sending pictures to everybody. I'm like, hey, what do you think of this piece of armor? What do you think of this? And people are like, oh, it sucks. And I constantly, getting better and better and better. But yeah, it's I don't know if you choose stories. Sometimes I think stories choose you, and you can't let go of it. So
That's a perfect answer. They choose you. Since we last spoke, I actually became a filmmaker myself. I was inspired by guys like you. I thought of you a lot, and a lot of it was like, yeah, you don't need permission to get started. You don't need to do this. Just get going. I'm like, oh, yeah, I couldn't think of a valid reason not to. So
yeah, that's so good. That's 100%. A lot of people they want to make movies or they want to go after the dreams and they make excuses on why not. And I always look at it, I'm like, I don't remember what I did last weekend, so I might as well just go make a movie.
that's a
So
good point. Yeah, that's
yeah,
a fantastic point. And also, bringing up Death Valley, I thought that was like a really fun. I feel like I had this kind of like almost like that 90s. Even with Psycho Goreman, like when you go back in the day when you went to like Blockbuster, I'm like, if I saw that on the shelf, I would snag it and get it before someone else does. Going into Death Valley, and I know that was like that was not your directorial debut, but like that was a big undertaking. So what kind of made you want to go
yeah.
towards that, swing for the fences for that?
So I think for me, in the place I'm at with my storytelling is I am trying to figure out what I like, what I don't like, and a lot of it is you go back to stories that kind of formed you, shaped you. I always loved the military guys in the bunker trying to get out and monsters coming at you, and so like
Yeah.
aliens and Resident Evil type of movies, right? So again, I'm like, oh, I just want to do this. And obviously, this was during COVID, this was during lockdown, and I was a filmmaker, and all of a sudden, I'm just not even a filmmaker. I was making docs, and so I was traveling around the world filming, doing stories, and then all of a sudden, it's just like, hey, you're stuck at home. I gotta figure out what to do income wise. What am I just gonna sit here, or am I gonna like redeem this time? And so I got 8 friends together, in total, I think 10, and I started building sets in my garage. And I remember talking to Steve, who did Psycho Gorman. I'm like, "Can you make me a suit?" And because he had all my measurements from Psycho Gorman, he's like, "Yeah, I'll make you something." And he's like, "But you obviously have to be the one wearing it." So I'm like directing the movie while wearing a monster outfit, and the first variation of the monster didn't have eyes. So I'm like, I had to explain to everybody before I got into the suit what was going to happen. And because I built the set, I knew where everything was. So I'm like, I'm walking around with no eyes. I'm like, I need the camera here, down here, doing this. And it just looks absolutely crazy to direct a movie in a monster suit with no visual sight line. So it was such a fun movie. But yeah, like movies like Resident Evil, The Thing,
Oh yeah.
those were some of the inspirations for it. And I think one of the things I encourage a lot of filmmakers is at the beginning of your career, don't go make your perfect story. just explore, have
Yeah.
fun, and do movies that like I had this one director talk to me. He's like, "You're not really making your movies until you're 50, because before that, you don't really know what your taste is, what your style is, and then that's the sweet spot where you're really just gaining all these skills and these like ideas and these hacks, and you're kind of putting them together." I'm like, "Oh, okay, that's my new blueprint." Because I feel bad. I jump around a lot. Like Death Valley is like a genre. Night's War is its own genre. Before that, did a psychological thriller, and then this year I just finished another like murder mystery, and they're all over. They're not in a lane in any way, and I feel like, oh, I should be in a lane, but I think at this point I just want to explore kind of whatever is kind of grabbing my attention. Again, whatever chooses me as a story that's worth diving into. So
That's a beautiful way to word it. Because, yeah, I mean, when I started, I was like, okay, what's my first thing? And I'm like, okay, well, it'd be kind of cool to dive into some drama or do my version of Godfather or something. But
yeah.
what kept popping in front of my head was this like vintage cursed camera, and it's a psychological thriller. I'm like, why am I fighting this? So I just
Yeah. Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. And I think go where the river flows and have fun pursuing that. And yeah, it's just it makes it enjoyable instead of trying to force it. There's so much about this that we want to control. And at the end of it, when you're done your movie, you don't know where it's going to go. You have no control. You have absolutely no control. And anyone who tells you that you do have control, you don't. It's very much you need to do it for the process of loving it, building the skill, and then sooner or later the fruit and the payoff and all that will come and figure itself out. So
with your film Transference,
yeah.
like that started off as a short film, and then it was like 2015, I want to say, and then you did a
Yeah.
feature more towards 2020. It was some timeline sound about right?
Yeah, I think it was like 2018 that came out. Man, I'm so bad with timelines. But
Yeah.
yeah, it came out at some point
Yeah,
after Y2K. So
yeah. And I figure like let's talk about the power of I'm learning like the power of short film, because it takes so much to make a short film, let alone a feature.
yeah.
What made you decide? Okay, I did Transference, short film, and then you know what? It was like about 4 or 5 years later, take that leap and do a full feature version of it.
So we did the short film, and I hadn't really made short films before, and I think short films have their place. I've turned my mind. For me, I won't make a short film, hopefully ever again,
Okay.
because the amount of work that goes into finding your location, your
Yeah.
cast,
Totally.
and I'm like, man, I could have just kept on going, and I could have made this a movie. So for me, it's like, okay, short films have run their course, but for building your aesthetic, for building your world, and for understanding what you're trying to make, a short film is really great. So what I will do before every movie is I go shoot my proof of concept, and really that's what a short film is. People who make short films for like trying to get into festivals and things like that, because the tools have become so accessible. Really, what becomes valuable is the hardest thing. It used to be making a movie was the hardest thing. Now the hardest thing is people's attention, keeping people's attention. So
Oh
that's now
yeah.
the new currency. So it's crazy how the line keeps changing. But going back to a short film really gives you the opportunity to figure out your visual style, to figure out how you're going to direct people. There's so many ways that you can approach filming a movie from the POVs, the perspectives. And one rule I did with the short film is that the camera would only be within 10 feet of the actor. Is like, that's what I want to do. I'm like, I like the main actor, the camera can only be within 10 feet. And I broke it a couple times, but for the most part, it was only that way. And it was such an interesting way to film, because I think that's when you put limitations on yourself, that's when you get unique outputs. And so going into short film with, like, if you want to commit to that, a whole feature length movie, that might be a very bold choice. But if you can explore it in a short film or in some small medium, you can play around with some of those limitations, and it'll actually give you something very unique. So when someone's going to their short film, I think if you're going to do it, I don't know if this was your question, but I'm just going to jump into it.
No,
If
please
you're
go.
going to make a short film, you need to approach it from a point of view of, what limitations can I purposely put on myself? How can I develop my visual like style? How am I going to be directing my actors? How am I just creating like an operations guidebook? And then you can make it quickly and you can get feedback and then you can tweak. And the hardest thing for a filmmaker is you don't know if what you're doing is good until if it takes you 2 years to show it to somebody, that's a long turnaround time to know if you're resonating with people. And the reason that YouTube and social media is so good for filmmakers is you get that instant feedback. And so, as a filmmaker who's starting out and doing their work, the faster you can get that feedback, the faster you can get eyes on it, and you get people to tell you, hey, because again, it's like we don't just make movies for ourselves. You can, but really, it's supposed to be a format that's interactive. It has to resonate. You send it out, and it comes back. And the quicker you can start doing those loops, and if you look at the directors who are really coming up right now, a lot of them are coming from YouTube. And I think the advantage that they have is that they are just making so much content and they're finding out so quickly what resonates, what doesn't. And that's an advantage that I'm kind of jealous of. Like I've been just thinking about
Right.
it in the back of my head. I'm like, I would improve a lot faster if I could get my content in front of people. Cause like I made a movie last year and it's going to take, you submit the film festivals and then you wait to get accepted and then
It's
you
like a
wait
whole
to
year by
yeah,
itself,
and it's just like I don't even like you're asking me about transference. I'm like I don't even remember this movie I just finished like
Okay.
it's like that's just like 6 months ago. So like I need to figure out how to like I get tempted to do verticals not because I'm interested in the format, I'm interested in the feedback. I'm like I would start doing
Oh,
vertical
okay.
content just to be like, okay, like did that person laugh, did that like, and some people are purists and like no, that's not what I want to be on a big screen. But for me it's like no, I want to have an emotional response from people. I want to be able to take someone down a journey and that they interact with it and it affects them in some way. So if that's on a vertical or 16 by 9 or yeah, in a comic book, I'm not like the mechanism isn't sacred. It's the experience for me, the interaction that is. So that was a rant. How much do I pay you for this
Yeah.
counseling session? Is this like an hourly thing
Yeah,
or
it's about
by
an hour thing. Yeah,
okay.
as filmmakers, we definitely need them. So that was beautifully worded too, because it is that is the pathway. You need that feedback, whether you're starting out, mid, or been doing it for decades. It's so important. You even hear it like the big filmmakers, like Spielberg, or Stanley Kubrick. I remember he asked Spielberg about like when The Shining came out. It's like what'd you think? And he's like, oh, yeah. And Spielberg's like said that Kubrick caught on to me. He's like, no, there's some bullshit you think's going on there.
Yeah,
He's
yeah,
like,
yeah, yeah, yeah.
well, and then he'll ask that
Yeah.
dialogue like, why didn't you like this part? That's such an important factor. And guys like obsessions like just breaking records, and these guys they have hundreds of horizontal, vertical, whatever videos, and you get that. And I think you nailed that really well. That and I'm experiencing this new to this is it's not just like, hey, I want people to see this and it's in the festival and eyeballs are on it. I need that feedback to see what's working, the pacing, my
Yeah.
storytelling, the movement of the camera versus lack of movement, sound versus lack of sound. What's telling that story there? And even to this day, I know a lot of people approach me like, "What's your style and what's your voice?" And I'm like, "Is it bad? I didn't pick one avenue yet." And
Yeah.
so I feel a
No.
kindred spirit here, where you're,
Yeah. No. It's there's a gap between what your taste is in the sense of like what you can do and what your taste is. And then there's the gap of you developing your taste and that changes and it's allowed to change. That's the beautiful thing. And then people are allowed to not like it. But I think I actually like when people tell me what they do and don't like about my movie. Like if someone just says like, "Hey, oh, it's great" or "It sucks," like that doesn't do much for me. But when someone's just like, "Hey, I saw what you're doing there, and I really like this," and then this thing, I'm like, "Oh, they got it. They saw what I was trying to do, and it paid off." And I'm like, "Man, that's cool." And whether that's like bringing a character to life or writing something or whatever, it's that the interaction. So.
and Matt, let me ask you, what so far, like, what do you feel are some gold nuggets of experience and information that you've had for developing your storytelling approach and process?
I think man, I think having a clear vision of what you're trying to it's so basic. Just having a
Mm,
clear vision of what the heck you're trying to do and just keeping it simple. Just keeping it like with Psycho Gorman. that was such a great opportunity to act in that character. And for me, he just reminded me of like a man, this adult being held hostage by children
Right.
and hating them, but also slowly enjoying being, a captive, a prisoner. And so, like, there's so much a desire to do other things with the character. And I'm just like, I'm going to keep him pretty disgruntled and pretty unimpressed. And so that when he has the big explosions, they kind of like pop out. But like Psycho Gorman's a movie that people message me about all the time still. Night's War, I'll get a message once a week on Instagram of people who just watch the movie and they're just like, "Oh my gosh, this is amazing! Like I love this, and this is such a style that no one has done before or has been abandoned," and it just speaks to them. So like, I think I think for me, it's like going into a project and being very clear of what I want to do,
Yes.
what don't want to do. And because things are so accessible, it's so easy to do anything. Your choice of what you don't do is so important. It's so important. And I haven't completely this is very raw thoughts because I see people with AI and you
Oh,
can
good.
go and just do anything or just prompt and blah 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 and you have something. And I'm not intimidated by that at all. In fact,
Mhm.
I'm happy that people can just get all their ideas out. I'm happy that it's so easy because the really good things in life, they're hard to make and it takes
Yes.
time and it takes sacrifice and a really good story you have to sit with. You can go to like any LLM and get them to spew out a script, but it's not good. And for people who just want to check a box, I'm like, this is great. They're going to get that box like checked off. But for people who really want to go and make something that's meaningful, the cost of art is pain, and people
Oh,
who
yeah.
avoid pain typically do not make art that stands the test of time, that resonates with the people around them. So whether
Interesting.
you've gone through pain and you can tell a story that people relate to, or that you're willing to go through pain and make something like Psycho Gorman wearing that suit,
Oh, yeah.
I'll be honest, I cried in that thing.
I
I
could
was just like,
imagine.
get me out of
It
here.
looked like it was hot. Yeah.
Yeah, and it's hot, it's sticky, it's itchy. You don't know. It's like you get claustrophobic. You can't see. It's just, and they start putting things in your eyes, and it's just like all I have is my eyes and mouth. And now you're putting like things in my eyes. And there's one time they had like these like rods of smoke that they're trying to put out, so that as he's mad, there's smoke coming out. I'm just like, I just don't want to. And it sounds. It's just like after 18 hours in this suit and doing it day after day, and your skin starts peeling off because they have to glue it to it. You're just like, I don't want to do this anymore. But if they asked me, hey, do you want to be Psycho Gorman again? I'd be like, yes. And sucks to be future Matt because he's going to hate it. But future Matt's going to be okay with it. And I'm okay with it. So that guy's going to have to suck it up.
Bruce Campbell has a great way of wording it. It's like, I've been in some real stinkers and I've been in some, hits or things became cult classics. But he said, I remember he several times would say, like, you know, I found if you're suffering on the set and it's really really tough to make, it tends to be pretty damn good when you're done. And usually when we're like having fun or it's like we're hanging out with a bunch of friends and stuff, and once that's it tends to die down towards the stinker. So I guess like what you're saying right
Yeah.
there, like art is pain, so to speak. Maybe along those lines he's onto something.
Yeah, I don't know if it's factual, but that's my experience is that you do need a level of suffering. And yeah, like A Night's War for me, or even Death Valley, it's like
Mm-hmm.
it's such a when people I think one of the disadvantages I have is that when people watch my movies, they think it's a lot bigger budget than what it is. And like I went in and like these movies, I'm filming them in my backyard and they look like Hollywood esque movies because it's like there's a lot of work that goes into them,
Yeah.
but there's also the flaws of like an independent film because you're like, I just don't know how to fix this. Like, there's something about building all the sets and then going through and making all the costumes and then going through and like casting it and going through the whole process for your movie. And it's just like, man, if I don't like this, I'm gonna quit pretty quickly. So it's just like I think going back to the first thing, you don't need to make your perfect movie, but you need to love the idea enough, or it needs to love you enough that you're willing to sacrifice for it. So
Nice. That's, yeah, very well put. Yeah, I feel like my experience so far is, you got a vision, you know what you're going for, but it shouldn't be just certain things shouldn't be so precious. Like one thing, we didn't have time for permits, and we needed to be in a city for like an apartment thing. I couldn't get one in time. I go, instead of this is a short film. This is not like a major feature. I'm just gonna make this character, instead of being alone in his apartment, not being able to pay rent, he lives with his parents. And I was just like, I'll just shoot that in my
Yeah,
house. It served the same
interesting. Yeah,
purpose. I kind of defined the process. Get what you want, but it's a nice, healthy line of compromises to still tell your story, but what's within your time or budget or whatnot. Not getting away from the vision, but keep the vision there. It's just maybe a different mold, I suppose.
yeah, that's such an interesting dilemma on what to compromise on and what
Yeah.
to stick to. Because there's something that, like, when you're making it, when you're dreaming about your movie, you're like, oh, this is so important. And I remember doing this scene. There was this prop that was just so important. And I spent so much money getting it. I couldn't, like, I hyper fixated on it. I'm like, this is like, it just represents the movie. And then it got cut. And I just
Oh,
laughed, and people were just like, why did you spend so much time? And in the moment, I just thought it was so important. And so, like, I'm on the opposite end, that sometimes I don't compromise on things I should compromise on. And then I'm just like, I could have used that money and that time
yeah.
onto other things. And yeah.
And you too, especially with several times with Steven Kostanski, who does phenomenal work. I mean, I've been a fan of his since The Void, and then when Psycho Goreman and everything. You're in his recent Death Stalker.
Yeah.
We could tap into that a little bit, but like he also like behind the scenes of Psycho Goreman. I'm like, wait, how much did they spend on this movie? This feels like it's 10 times the price, but it looks like that, but 1/10 of it or whatever. So,
Yeah.
and yours too, like I'm like, I feel like I'm in this like medieval world building environment. So, what are some approaches you have to that independent making style for like world building and things like making it look expensive, but it's
Yeah. Look expensive or serve the story. I think what makes people so unique is the tool set that they come with. So, like, if you look at Steven, the guy can build monsters. So he had 15, 16 monsters in there, all different sizes. If you asked me to go make that movie, I don't have the tool set to do that. Do you know what I mean? Like,
yeah,
it just wouldn't make sense. Whereas Steven doesn't have the tool set to go build sets the way I know how to build sets. And so, because I have a construction background, so like I know how to
okay,
get things at cheaper, and like luckily for my dad, he's just like, if the movies don't work out, at least you'll know how to fix things. I'm like, thanks, Dad. So I appreciate him for that. But I keep finding these filmmakers that are so unique is they have this side thing that they're just good at. Like, there was one dude I was watching, he made this short film with a space ship, and he just knew how to use a CNC machine and the 3D printer. And
oh,
he was just taking random things and like programming it out, and like, it's not a huge set, but it was so intricate and so detailed, and like he brought his unique skill set to it. So I think there's obviously directors who just direct, and those are very rare.
hmm,
And I meet them often, and they're lucky to get one movie and then they never make a movie again. And then there's these other directors who have, I would just say, these little tools in the belt, these little, things that they're uniquely equipped for, or experiences that they can bring to their craft. And I think that's where Robert Rodriguez, whatever his name
it's
is.
always a tongue twister for me too.
Yeah, I'm just, he's
Robert,
got Robert Rodriguez. I'll just say it real quick. He's got a great book, Rebel Without a Crew, and I think everyone
I
should.
love that
Such
book.
a
It's phenomenal.
it's Yeah, and the way he approaches it is not only do like what skill set do I have, but what do I have access to? Just reverse engineer. And so many of my movies are, what do I have access to? This is a funny thing. Psycho Gorman's set, I totally forgot about this. I don't think I've ever told anything. They threw out the set of Psycho Gorman, and they were getting rid of it. And I was just like, whoa, 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 whoa. What do you mean you're getting rid of it? Like, well, it costs money to store, so we're just going to get rid of it. And so the room that big room, the white room that they do all their stuff in, I use that for Death Valley. That's how I was able to build Death Valley. And I had no clue how sets were made until during the filming of that, I walked around, I looked at the set, I was like, oh, this is how you build a set. And I completely reverse engineered it while in a monster suit. I'm like, oh, these are the pieces. This is how it works. I didn't know I was going to get the set. Do you know what I mean? But
Yeah.
they're like, yeah, it's going into a bin. So if you want it, you'll save us the dump fee. I'm like, done, done. And so I took all those pieces. And because of that, and I was able to put them back together and start building things. And if you look at Death Valley, it's just a square room that keeps moving around, but it's all from pieces from Psycho Goreman. I don't know how that was connected to my thing. I just connected that for myself, so that was more of me just remembering
Oh,
things.
that's
But
an awesome nugget of it. Because when you're on set,
yeah,
whatever facet of the filmmaking process, right? You can't help but learn, right? You've done this enough.
I people are like, hey, you can go to your trailer. I'm like, I will never go to my trailer. I will never. Like Deathstalker, they did such cool things. They did such cool things. Oh my gosh. They rented an old arena up in Sudbury. And so they try to build all the sets in a row like you do so the actor doesn't have to go far so that Daniel was able to like film scenes and you just max out him. And just like seeing how they did the cave scene, I'm like, okay, I'm taking so many notes. I'm like, now this is how you do this is how you do that. This is cardboard. And then the forest scenes were all inside at night and like how they were doing it. I'm like, okay, so like I think for so many filmmakers, you have to love it. Like I would sneak onto sets. If I ever drove by someone making a movie, I stopped, got off my bike or my car, whatever it was, and I'd walk on set. I'm like, hey, I'm late. I'm part of camera team. What do you guys need? And I would be moving things, just learning. I didn't know what anything was. I don't have any formal training other than finding a way to sneak into the thing that I love. And so whether that was acting or just showing up or just, learning a skill that can get me onto set or even buying a camera so that people would hire me to shoot things, even though I don't know what's going on.
Right.
And that became, little tools that you can put in that. But going back to Robert Rodriguez, he would say, if there's a really cool car that you have access to, go right around that cool car. If you have access to like this room, write about that. If you have a house, write about that. Write about the thing that you have access to so that you can just remove the excuse and you can just, because I can't stress this enough. Mm-hmm. Every artist sucks. We are not good at what we do.
I see.
We're not. Yeah. We're so bad. And the beauty is, it's just time. That's all it is. It's just time. And so for people who are like those, gifted people who kind of get the one up at first and they're just naturally good at things, typically they're passed by people who are just pig-headed, determined. I'm not giving up. I'm not making excuses. I'm going to get my reps in. And you see it in sports where you see really talented athletes get passed all the time by that athlete that just shows up. And I think it's the same for you. It's like if you want to tell a story, you just got to get the reps in. You got to use what you got. Whatever can take away the excuse and get you in there, go do that.
I mean, that's really it. It's going to suck. And then the next one's going to suck. But then it starts getting better and you start getting that dynamic with how audiences react. Like I know people were like crapping all over Kane Parsons that did Backrooms, and they're crapping before the movie even came out. So
yeah,
however you want to judge it after, fine. But before that, they're crapping. I'm like, this guy's been doing this like
he's got reps.
He's got reps. The reps are in.
Yeah.
Like, well, wasn't it like one of the recent 28 years later? It was like on a iPhone.
Yep.
15 Pro.
There's and people. There's two ways to look at it. You can always come up. Oh well, they had a crew and they rigged it and they did all this stuff. And yes, that's true. It's not like they just went out with their iPhone, but yeah, they did. They just went out with their iPhone and the camera, the lights, the equipment. None of that is the excuse anymore. It really just comes down to going back to what I said at the beginning. That does it resonate? I do this, it's supposed to cause this reaction with you, and then I do this, which then causes this reaction, and we're manipulators of people's emotions, and we're putting these images together, and does it work, right? And it changes. Like I was watching Man on Fire, Ridley Scott movie with Denzel Washington, yes. And I'm like, I love this movie, but it is like... it's almost funny the way it's edited now because it's like slow mo and
Oh yeah.
slow, you know what I mean? And I'm just like, I feel like if I showed this to my kid, he'd just be like, "What's going on?" Like, just laughing, right?
You're right.
And so like, there's different styles that emerge, and you have to be willing to kind of bend a little bit, or maybe you're not. Maybe you're just like, "No, I'm gonna do my thing," but to resonate the it's a conversation, it's a little bit of a dance, and like, if your partner moves this way, you need to move with them, and just yeah.
I find whatever level you're doing anything, we're talking about filmmaking, the less materials, money, things you have, you're forced to be more creative. Like I had this guy in the opening of the film, he hangs himself. And I don't have X amount of dollars to buy or rent this harness where you like perfectly see him
Yeah.
like on screen. And I'm like, well, we cut it this way. And I'm like, well, how do we make the sound instead of me going out? And I'm like, I had a foosball table. I put a mic over it. I lean out my body and I just slowly crank the wood side to side. And you put a little EQ on it and it
Yeah,
serves a
it's great.
story.
Yeah, and it's interesting you say that. I don't think you ever have enough money for your movie. And like another Ridley Scott movie, Gladiator, they didn't have enough money for the full dummy of the like the mannequin of the mother when she was burned, right?
Oh, that's right. Yeah.
So again, very similar to your hanging scene, somebody would be like, "Oh, we don't have the whole body. How are we going to do this?" Da, 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 da. Well, the feet were enough, and he had from the calf down, and that scene, I don't know. I think it's so impactful because you don't see the whole thing. You're staying on like Russell Crowe's performance, and I think again a limitation made something so great, so great. You could emulate all that. There's no excuses that like in your scene with the person hanging that you couldn't do something very similar
Yeah.
and whatnot. So I agree with you. Money. Here's the thing. You'll never have enough money.
Right.
You'll never have enough
Yeah.
money because how quickly your budget will like if you're getting more money, it means that you're getting higher quality actors, which means that you're going to have to get higher quality makeup artists because the makeup artist will go with the high quality actor, and then they're going to want their cinematographer. And so like you could go and you could like go from $100,000 to $1 million and you still have the exact same crew. You can go from $1 million to $10 million and you still have the exact same crew. You just paid people more, but you still have the same limitations and you still have some of the same issues. And I think when you're first starting, it's not that your movie doesn't cost money, it's that you as the director or the people in there are just working for free. Steve was able to make such a great movie. He didn't pay himself to make those 16 creatures. He didn't. There was no money for that.
Right.
If he
Wow.
paid himself for every monster that he made in Psycho Goreman, it would have been the budget of the movie. There would be nothing left.
Right.
So how did Psycho Goreman look so good for the budget that it had? Well, it's because the director did a lot of free work because he believed in it. So
That's what it. And yeah, I mean, you've done it yourself. I did every facet.
yeah,
I'm literally like roll sound, roll
yeah,
camera,
nah, you're
and
doing
directing. You got to do what you
yeah,
got to do. This came upon. I think it was done a while ago, but I saw this recent for me TED talk with Andrew Stanton. Like he did like Wall-E and like I guess I love the movie, but he's infamous for John Carter. I think it's a fantastic movie. But he had this thing story writing wise, and this is a subject I want to go to because you've written your films. He put on a screen and said the number 4, and the 4 is like the answer to whatever the audience is trying to get out of this scene.
okay,
Instead of giving your audience the number 4, don't do that because your audiences are actually smart. They're trying to figure this out. That's humans. That's what we're trying to do. So he
yeah,
says, give them 2 plus 2. And I thought that was a very interesting, whether you intrinsically write this way or just more cognizant, right, with that in mind. When you're writing your script, working things through, right, you don't want to just this be an hour and a half of plot, right? We want that story and what drives us to care about these characters. So how do you like to approach your stories? Because everybody's got like a great idea, but putting that pen to paper, so to speak, and developing something that actually incites a reaction in the audience. How do you like to approach that?
yeah. That's a That is a long, long answer. When you first write, you want to be, or at least I want to be so linear. It's this person says that, and then this person says that. And they, what did you eat last night? I ate spaghetti, right? Like that's
Hmm.
how your first draft, or at least my first draft goes. A really great movie, if you want to look at exposition dumps, is Pirates of the Caribbean.
Yeah.
Yeah, like I would say Pirates of the Caribbean and Indiana Jones are two films that people need to watch because there's a lot of exposition in those films, but the way they approach it is very interesting. If you look at any time Johnny Depp is asked like a question, he has such an answer that is not answering the question, makes you ask even more questions, right?
Reach makes you reach. Yeah.
It makes you reach, and I think I'm failing to come up with a really simple example, so I apologize, but don't give the audience it right away. And I think that comes in your scenes. I think that's our lives are messy, so sometimes we write neat, where it's just like this happens, and then it's just so nice. What would be the worst thing that can happen in that scene? What would be a world belief that could be opposing? Like, I love my new rule is you need people who think differently in your world. I think that's something that's very interesting to explore. It's like if I believe in God, you don't believe in God, and we both go on a space mission, it's going to be a very different experience. We're going to be at odds with each other. If I believe in forgiveness and you believe that no one should ever be forgiven, you know what I mean? We're now at odds, and we can see the exact same situation, but there's going to be that tension, right? Going back to Gladiator, it's like two people were both witnessing the decline of an emperor, right? Whereas like the son wasn't worthy, and the general was like, he's like, I don't think I'm worthy either. But they both viewed power differently. One didn't want power, one wanted the power, one, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
And all of a sudden the conflict goes boom from that moment. It's like we have an instigating event where two people have very opposing ideas, and then all of a sudden it just the conflict's already built in. And you look at Game of Thrones. Game of Thrones is a great example of that. You got Ted Stark, or is Ted Stark? Starks, I forget.
Ned Stark.
Ned Stark.
Ned
Thank
Stark, yeah.
you. Yeah, but
We got
he
that.
just he believes in honor, right? And he believes in doing the right thing regardless of the consequence. And then you have the whole other world, which is like,
Yeah.
no, you bite, you steal, you cross your fingers behind your back. And I was so taken back when they killed him. I'm like,
Oh yeah.
why'd you kill Sean Bean? Like, right? Like, but it built in the world engine so quickly, right? And it would
Yes.
have been so like we've seen that movie before where everybody has honor. We've seen that. So they played on it. Like, we're gonna have one guy who is honor in a world where there's no honor. And his
Welcome to
family comes.
Westeros.
Yeah. And it's just like, oh my gosh, right? Like that changed everything in that story. So I think if you're looking to talk about something, if you're looking to explore something, it's like a good doc. You want every side. You want the opposing information. You want the people, and you want both sides to be good. And that's the thing that I'm exploring right now, is that if you're exploring subject mattering, that you want to, you both sides better be really good at bringing their piece. And whether that's an offense, like you go into the great like hero comic book hero movies and you see that the villain, like so many people agreed with Thanos. It's like, if I could snap right now, I would do it. Like, I'm driving down the freeway, boom, like we agree with him, right, to a certain extent. And now it's just like, okay, right? Whereas if Thanos was just, if he wasn't relatable, if we couldn't agree with him a little bit, then all of a sudden it's just like, the world's not explored. So
I mean, that's the other thing. Villains don't think they're wrong. They think they're doing the right thing.
yeah.
It's just
Yeah.
that conflict, and that makes a more interesting story. I mean,
Yeah,
that's what,
and not just your villains, your supporting characters. Your supporting characters don't know that they're supporting. That's like, you know what I mean? Like, they don't
everybody's a
know
star
that.
in their own movie.
Everyone's the main character, and you don't have to write all their lines that way, but you need to give them I'm guilty of this where it's like, I'll write somebody just to get the plot going. It's like they're doing this because of a plot thing. I need them to do it. But it's just like, it just feels cheap. Just feels cheap now, right? Where it's just like, no, I need to spend some time with this character, understand them so that I can earn this moment to move the plot forward. So, yeah.
And also taking these other aspects, like, I mean, you have the acting side of things, the writer, the director side of things. Mentally going into that, doing the acting, being on set, thinking what the character should be doing here. Does that help you write and also direct and work with other actors and communicate with them? What is that kind of process like for you?
I hope it's helping. I don't know. I think it is. I love the whole process. I truly, I don't know how to measure myself. I think directors, actors, whatever I am, you go through crises where you're just like, man, am I even good at this? It's just like, holy
Yeah.
smokes. I think acting has allowed me to direct better, whereas like giving people feedback that's actually helpful. There's some directors who will just make up convoluted things and they think they're clever,
Mhm.
and it's quite confusing. And so there's just such simple things of like making sure building confidence with your actor. So
Mm.
where are they looking? What is the action? What is good lighting? Like I do photo shoots with my actors before I film. I like that's non-negotiable. I need to go do a photo shoot, and I usually do it by like myself and an assistant, and it's just actually finding their lens. I'm trying to find their lens, I'm trying to find their light, and I'm trying to find like their angle. And like everyone has that angle that's just like, oh, that's great, or that the villain, or everyone has like no-go zones where actually that angle of them doesn't serve the story. And so like when I did Death Valley, the first person I did a photo shoot with was my brother. We get the wardrobe out, you know what I mean? And
Yeah,
I just
Jeremy,
like,
right?
yeah. And I'm like, hey, let's just go. Like there's this river, it's cool, and we'll just get some shots. I'm like, oh, your hair. Like, what if we slick it back? What does it look like when it's down? What is this? And it's just like exploring these looks, and then I can get to go to like whoever I'm filming with. I'm like, guys, these are kind of like the images I'm going for. This is kind of like when I say like he's like looking back over his shoulder. This is the lens. This is like the vibe, and I know it works. And so as a director, the more you can do that before going into it, because that's what I want. I want
Mhm.
a director who's going to choose the angle that I know I can trust them with.
Yeah.
And I've been on the side of filming people, and they're like, you're choosing the wrong angle of me. Like you're making me look bad. I'm like, oh, I'm sorry. I'll do better. And with makeup and with wardrobe, all those things kind of
Yeah.
stockpile. So as a director, you do not want your actors coming in not confident. Like you are the right person for the role. And I want to make sure they have that. I don't want guessing games, and making sure you put attention to all those things I previously said that sets up an actor with confidence. It's like, training up a child. You want to give these things to allow them to be very confident so that you don't have a toxic set, because if they're not
Oh
confident,
yeah.
then
Mhm.
they'll overcompensate. I've seen this with first billing actor where all of a sudden it's just like, they're like, I'm a big dog. I'm like, well, if you have to say you're a big dog, then you're not feeling like you're a big dog, and now it's affecting it, and like, you know what I mean? And I
Yeah.
think
Yeah.
that's where a lot of people get kind of insecure on set, and that really comes from, I think, the producer and the director set the tone, and
Okay. Yeah.
and so working all those different departments, I'm able to go in, and I've done audio, I've done makeup, I've done wardrobe, I've done set design, I've edited, I've colored, I've done all the things in a movie. And so when I'm talking to that person, I'm not saying I'm as good as them, but I understand what they're
Right.
going through and what I need to do to make sure that they're confident, that they have the information, that they feel supported, and so that I can unlock all the people. So going all the way back to your beginning question, the more things you know and the more you understand what someone has to go through, the better you can communicate with them, the more confident they can be, the better experience you can make on set. The more they come back, the less negativity you have, the better product you have. So yes, I think directors should act. I think directors should do audio. I think you should hold a boom pole just to know what it
Yeah.
does to your shoulders,
Yeah.
right? And how hard it is to get that microphone close, but then have someone yell at you for coming into frame. So
Yeah.
yeah. Anyway.
I mean, I had like one shot. I had a gimbal. And I was like kneeling down to get this like this perfect angle for the shot, and I'm there for a while. And next thing I know, I'm like, all right, cut. I can't stand up. So
No.
yeah,
Yeah.
but now you know. And let's talk about this subject too. I mean, this is any vocation of life and any walk of life. Whether it's a subject of failure, I've learned a lot, and I guess maybe I was guilty of myself. I didn't even like dabble in the area of filmmaking because I'm like, I don't put myself out there, and I don't know really what I'm doing. A lot of it was like mystery. It's like, well, educate yourself and just apply. This is a hands-on thing. So let's talk about the subject of failure, because I come from the mindset there really isn't like success and failure. It's like success and learning. Like you learn from the failure. It's actually, you kind of touched on a little earlier, like with vertical videos. It's like, yeah, make this, it's gonna suck, and then make it. So you're learning how to adjust. You won't learn how to adjust and adapt and grow unless you have kind of like that concept, I suppose, of failure.
Yeah, failure is an interesting one. It's I hear what you're saying about like there's never a failure, there's growth. And this is true. This is like you can go through things and there's the lessons that you take away that can make it as a success. But you also go through things and you still feel like you're a failure.
A
And
million percent. I'm like, why did I do this?
and you can tell yourself and you can say these things that are true that sound nice, but deep down we still feel like we're a failure. And I think especially in the art world, it's hard because in math 2 + 2 = 4. It's so clear cut. People have to have grace for themselves. There's this competitiveness. I'm a very competitive person. I see like Obsession, and I see The Back Room, and I see Iron Lung, and I see what these guys are doing. And one part of me is just like, man, good for them. The other part is like, plague upon your house. I hope you die. And that's I think the duality of it, right? And so I'm still working through this, that like if my product, like it sucks, like you can go make a movie and it may not sell. You can go make a movie
Right.
and it sells a lot and you don't get any of the money because of the distribution deal. There's just so much variables of it. And so I want to make good stuff. I want to do the best job I can. I want to make sure that when I show up to set, I'm prepared, right? That I've done today, like I've done the work today so that tomorrow, Matt, is ready. Like I have this visual. It's just like all you have to do is just one day you have to pass the torch. That's all your responsibility is for today. All my responsibility today is make sure I can pass the torch to future Matt. That's it. So it's not, I'm not responsible for the next 20 years. I'm just responsible for today. And then tomorrow's Matt, he's responsible for tomorrow. And the one after that is responsible for that. So it's just like, I just don't fuck up today. You know what I mean? Just set myself up well today. And so that's something that I'm like, the success of today. So that means that this is like, if I failed or I won yesterday, it doesn't really matter because today I just got to pass the torch for tomorrow. And so that's been serving for me. It's just like, breaking it down and not like, I want to make movies that are like, I don't know, appreciated, I think is the word that I'm looking for. You know what I mean? Appreciated the same way like I've made movies that have, there's movies I've watched that I'm like, man, like that movie's so good. That thing had such an emotional response. Like that's changed me as a human being. I want to make movies that do that, but that is not an easy task. It's a very difficult task to put on yourself. And whatever reason you're going to go make your movie, you need to be so like relentless, but at the same time forgiving and accepting, and just day at a time, just pass the torch. And if you could just pass the torch one day at a time, whether you win or you lose or you fail or whatever, it doesn't matter. It doesn't matter. So
That's a fantastic takeaway. That should be a T-shirt.
too long to set up for a T-shirt. People are like, just what, you like torches? What is it?
Yeah, right. Yeah, it's so important. And also, I guess, realizing why you're doing this. Like, this stuff's not easy. And remember why you're doing it. I think that was another factor. Like, obviously, I'm making this for people to absorb and enjoy, but...
Yeah. And I think even on that, after you do it, you may not like it. And that's okay. Like it would actually, I love bringing on interns because, and I always say the same thing to them. I'm like, at the end of this, you're either gonna love it or you're gonna hate it, and that's great because if you don't love this, you can save so much time and money and heartache and just get out of it. Like I look at filmmaking, artistry, any of it is very much an addiction to something
Mm.
because it doesn't really make sense when you explain it to somebody, but you still have to do it. Like I wish I could stop making movies. I can't. I love it. I it is this thing that doesn't really give back, but I still give everything for. And it's just I can't stop thinking about it. Like I'm so glad we're in a day and age of Bluetooth in cars because I talk out loud in the car running scenes. And so people think I'm just on the phone talking to someone. I'm like, no, I'm doing them all. Like, I'm so like, yeah, I look crazy. But yeah, I guess what am I saying? What am I saying is just like, if you don't like it, that's fine. Or maybe there's an
Yeah.
aspect of it that you do like, you can dial into that. I've met so many people who are like, I'm gonna be a director. And they're like, actually, I really don't like directing. And they
Well,
feel
you
bad about
learn,
it.
and you don't learn.
Yeah.
It's just such a hands-on thing. Like
Yeah.
I originally looked at doing like maybe some sort of film school online. I'm just like, this is hands-on. I need to be there with the whether I'm a cinematographer or not.
Yeah.
I need to have that camera and know how that works, so it's easier to communicate. It's such an important thing to be able to get out there, and you don't know. Did I like being a director versus
Yeah.
the writer, and so on and so forth?
Yeah, it's like I've produced, I've directed, I've written, and for me, it's just like I love the craft of creating, and I like getting on set. There's nothing that compares to having a group of people on set that
Yeah.
you get along with, you're going to war with. It's such a magical thing, and I always it's the hardest thing when you wrap a movie, and then a couple months later, people start messaging you, just like, "Oh, I miss it," and like it's just it's hard, it's addictive. So
Oh, very
yeah,
much so. Like I said, like it was one of the hardest things I had to do physically. It's mentally like there's so much to coincide and coordinate, and I've never was never happier. I just smile on my face the whole day.
whole time. I think as humans, we're meant to play. We're meant to
Mm.
create. We're meant to, you know, try to take what's in our head and bring it into this world. Like that is such a fascinating thing to take those images or that story that's just it's like trapped as a prisoner and it's your job to free it into this world in the best way that you can. And yeah, I love it.
That's the best. Well, kind of wrapping up here, your film that's I believe is it in post production. Is it Hyena?
Yeah, so no hyena. We just submitted to film festivals, so we should be
Oh,
hearing back shortly if we get into anything. So I'm hoping we can. There's a couple festivals that I have my eye on, and then after that, distribution, and then we're writing. I got my brother and I are working on 3 films right now. So we're just as soon as we get stuck on one, then we go to the next one and write. And once very all different genres again, so crazy, and looking to make the next. I really want to keep going in the fantasy, dark fantasy
amazing.
world. So either a sequel or a new world of some sort, and whatever I can do to keep going on set. So
And isn't that another thing, Matt? When you finish a film, whether it's you're getting paid for that as a living, or just you're doing a passion project, everything in
yeah,
between. Essentially, you want maybe towards post like the last third of it, you should be working on that next thing already, like pre development or
oh yeah, I'm the worst to talk to about this. So I work a day job. I don't actually like filmmaking is when I say it's my passion, it's I would I take my weekends and I'll go make a movie. So I have not yet figured out how to, jump into the Hollywood vein of getting funded to go do something I've been offered. But at the end of the day, it's like we all have competing commitments. My competing commitment is I love my family. I don't want to be away from my family. So I'll build a castle in my backyard so I can film in my
okay,
backyard and I still have my family. I'm eating my cake and I get to keep it. Like I'm just that's the world I'm in right now. And when my kids get older, sure, maybe I'll go work on other people's movies. But for me, the hardest part is, yeah, I'm working a day job and then I'm working to get the funds for the movie and then I'm working on making the movie. So it's like it's a lot of different hats. And development is, yeah, like I would say that if you get to the part of your career that you're going to start making content, write a bunch of scripts first.
Oh, yeah, okay.
And treat yourself like this is like very far ahead, but the stage I'm in is I want to develop a lot of movie ideas so that I have a slate of, let's say, 10 things that I'm very passionate about, that I like, that are in like a second pass at or like a punch up edit, but the scripts are there. And so like I have the sequel for Night's War. So if I got funding to go do a Night's War, I already have the sequel written. I have 3 other films that I'm very passionate about in different genres, that if I get someone who's interested in it, I'm like, I got this script, I really like it. I think the hardest thing is writing something and then seeing like 5 movies come out with your exact same concept a couple of years later. You're like, oh no. Shoot, I can't use that anymore. That sucks. Wow. But at the same time, like, okay, I was on to a trend. Interesting to see how they did that. Good to know. Yeah, I don't know what to say. Like, if I don't have any good advice for anyone because I'm still trying to figure it out, but I'm like, write, work, put the hours in, right? And write a script knowing that it's probably not going to get made, but still go through the pain of it, because you'll learn, you'll get better, and someone reads it. Like, again, I need to get better at exposition. So that's just the thing I've been focusing on, is like, how can you do a better job with exposition? Because if you're world building, if you're building a whole new world and you need to know all this stuff, then like PG has crazy exposition in it, but they just leaned into it and he keeps getting cut off when he tries to do it. So like you get these like flashback sequences that nobody wants to listen to, but you actually do, as the audience, actually, I really would like to know what's going on.
Thank you for joining us on this episode of Methods of Fiction. To hear more insights from filmmaking and entertainment industry professionals, subscribe to our video podcast on YouTube. And if you're listening on your favorite podcast platform, be sure to follow us there as well. We look forward to having you join us again on the next episode.